Most people are intimidated by Python or coding in general. The moment they see a line of code, they get scared or they click off the video. But don't click off of this one. By the end of this video, you'll be able to automate a Cisco switch, and even better, multiple Cisco switches. This is actually one of the coolest things I've learned in networking so far. So first, let's talk about what network automation is. When people hear network automation, they instantly think it means you need to be a programmer or a software engineer. That's not what it's like at all. Network automation is simply taking the network automation commands you already know and then having a script run them for you. That's it. So automation really makes sense when you're doing the same task over and over again. So pretend you want to add a new VLAN. On one switch, that's super easy. You can just do literally 2 words, VLAN 10 or whatever. But what if you have 67 switches or more? It's not so easy anymore. You have to do VLAN 10, VLAN 10, VLAN 10, VLAN 10, VLAN 10 for every single switch. You have to SSH into each one of them individually and then add that VLAN. And also, not only is this task boring, it's also super prone to mistakes. Because imagine just doing the same thing over and over again 67 times. You're bound to mess up at least once, at least one time on any of those switches. So automation lets you define a change once and apply it everywhere consistently. Because computers don't make mistakes, fortunately. So yeah, I mentioned SSH because SSH is a prerequisite to network automation. When you have a brand new switch with no configuration, you can't really automate unless you have like zero touch provisioning. But in general, you can't because you don't have an IP address for it and SSH isn't enabled. So these are the 2 prerequisites. So in this video, I'm going to be using my 2 Cisco 3750X switches, and I've already configured them with IP addresses and SSH. If you don't know how to do that, you can watch my other video on how to configure SSH on a Cisco switch. In this video, we're going to create 2 different levels of Python scripts. Level 1 is going to be easy. We're going to automate a simple change on a single Cisco switch. After this, you should just get a feel of Python and scripting in general. And level 2 is where we're going to go a little bit more advanced. We're going to take the same idea, but we're going to apply it to multiple Cisco switches. And that's where it really shines. And through all this, we're going to keep it super simple so anyone can understand the code. All right, so let's actually code this. So this is the setup. We have switch 1 and switch 2. This one is going to be connected to my MacBook. That's where we're going to be making the scripts. This is just a trunk between these 2 switches to allow our management VLAN. So even though my MacBook over here, even though my MacBook is only connected to the first switch, it can still contact the second switch. It can still SSH into the second switch through this trunk link. The first thing you want to do is open up any code editor, like whether you want to use PyCharm, whether you want to use Visual Studio Code, Microsoft Word, use anything you want. You just need a space to be able to write your Python code. And you want to have Python installed on your computer. There's a bunch of tutorials online if you don't have it already installed. But that's not the point of this video. So the first thing we want to do is we want to create our Python file in a folder. So in this folder called network automation, I'm just going to press +.py. So based on the title, that's what we're going to do. In level 1, in this script that we're going to write, we're going to write a script that changes the switch's hostname. So the first thing we want to write, we're using Netmiko, which is a Python library that handles connections to switches. We can do from Netmiko import connect handler. And you're going to see that Python's complaining because Netmiko could not be resolved. So we want to install Netmiko. See, it's going to install a bunch of stuff. And this complaint should go away in a second. There we go. So now Netmiko's installed. The first thing we want to do is we want to define the switch in our code. We have to tell our script what switch are we connecting to? What's the IP address of the switch? What is the type of switch? What's the username of the switch? And what's the password? Because remember in SSH, it's going to ask you for a username and password. So that's what we need to define first. And to do that, we can create something called a dictionary. So let's just do it and then you'll understand after. We're going to type device type, Cisco iOS. We're telling it it's a Cisco switch. Host is the IP address. The IP address I assigned to our first switch is 99.1. Username is admin and the password is not admin, it's actually password. When you're actually writing a script, you don't want to put the password in here, obviously, but this is just a lab, so we can do whatever we want. This is our definition. A dictionary is a key and a value. So device type is the key, Cisco iOS is the value. We're using a dictionary to define switch so that all of this information can be organized into a single variable, which is this switch variable. And the next thing we want to do is we want to connect to the switch. We're going to name the variable net connect equals connect handler switch. Connect handler is a function. It takes these like variables as parameters. So the two asterisks before the variable switch means to take this dictionary and pass these in as values. So Cisco iOS, this IP address, admin, password, pass those in as values. If we were to run this right now, Python will be able to connect to our switch, but it's not going to do anything because we didn't tell it to do anything. We just told it to connect. And now this is the cool part. So we can put hostname equals input, enter the new hostname for the switch. So this is going to ask for user input. So when you run the script here, it's going to have a little prompt that says enter the new hostname for the switch. And then once you press enter, it's going to store that value that you put into hostname. So hostname is going to equal the input, the value that you put. And then look at this, net connect dot send config set. So send config set takes an array. I don't know if it takes just regular strings, but I know it takes an array because you're supposed to have multiple values. That's why it's send config set. It's send command, sorry. Send command hostname and then the hostname that we inputted. So this is literally SSHing into our switch and typing out hostname blank. So whatever we inputted, pretend we input switch. It would be hostname space switch. So it would change the hostname to whatever we inputted. That's the coolest part. We don't need to type the command ourselves. We just need to tell it what hostname we want and it's going to do it itself. And then after this, we can confirm. So we can do print net connect dot send command. Yeah, look, yo, AI is crazy actually. It's actually guessing what I'm about to say. So we're telling Python to print the output of this command, net connect dot send command, show run include hostname. Because you already know what show run include hostname is going to show. It's going to show the running config, get the line that says hostname and then whatever it is, so that you can confirm that this command was actually run on the switch. Let's test this out. Oh, actually, before we test it out, a couple cool things we can do is we can save the config, literally save config, so you don't have to forget, and we should disconnect after. Just best practice. Okay, before we do this, let's make some visual changes so that we can understand what's happening better. So after this runs, we should print out connected to the switch. Actually, this would be better. Connected to switch host. So we're connected to this. So after this command runs, we'll see that we're connected to the switch. We're going to see the IP address of what we're connected to. Hostname, please enter hostname. We don't need anything after that. And after disconnect, we should do print configuration saved and connection closed. That's what AI wants us to write, so that's what I'm going to write. All right, now let's try running this. Python 3, change hostname.py. See, it ran this, and then it ran this print statement connected to 192.168.99.1. So now we visually know that we're connected, and now we can enter the hostname of the switch. I don't know, let's name it Polo Switch 1. Okay, and it didn't work. Okay, so I actually messed this up. As you can see here at the bottom, it says enter the hostname for the switch, Polo Switch 1, hostname Epic Switch. That's not the hostname that we configured. It's because when we do net connect send underscore command hostname whatever, send command does not automatically go into config mode. And hostname, obviously, you have to be in config mode. You have to be in global config mode to change the hostname. So this tried to run it in privilege exec mode and it didn't work. So that's why we got Epic Switch. So the command we actually have to use the command send config set. We have to pass an array or a list. So that's why we have to put the brackets. The brackets just indicate it's an array because it's expecting multiple commands. That's why it's config set. This command, yeah, can just stay the same because show run, that's a privileged exec mode command, not a global config mode. So let's run this one last time and this should work now. Clear Python 3 change hostname.py. We should see it's connected. Yep, new hostname. Now let's name it Polo Switch 1. There we go. Okay. See, now we see hostname Polo Switch 1. Now let's for real console back into the switch and see if the changes were made. We're connected back to the switch, the first switch, and you can see here the original is Epic Switch. That's the original name. And when we press enter here, it should say the new host name we updated it to, which is Palo Switch 1. And there we go. Now let's go back to coding. Okay, so now that we've run this script, oh yeah, and by the way, one last change. I changed this. This used to be net_connect.save config, but it was throwing errors because apparently there's some host name. I don't know, there's some error with the host name because we changed it. So we just send the command write memory, which will save the config anyways. Okay, so that previous script was just to get an introduction to Python and Netmiko. You're not gonna write a script to change the host name. That's kind of pointless. Actually, maybe you could, but now we'll do a more practical use of this. What if we want to add a new VLAN or multiple VLANs to multiple different switches? Let's do the same thing from Netmiko import connect handler. And now since we want to SSH or connect to multiple different switches, we have to make an array that holds each switch object. So in the previous one, we did this. This is fine if we're doing it for one. But if we want to do multiple, we have to make an array of these objects. Let's call it switches equals. To define an array, all you need to do is put these. And we do the exact same thing. So device type Cisco IOS, host 192.168.99.1. This is the same switch we were using in the previous script. Username admin, password, password. This is essentially the same as this, except it's an array. And the cool thing about arrays is we can have multiple items in the array. So we just do a comma, we do another curly brace, device type Cisco, host, this is the second switch, the bottom switch in our topology, .99.2, that's the IP address of it, comma, username admin, it has the same username and password. So now we defined both of our switches, and instead of using just one singular object, we're using an array, and there's two objects, two switch objects. And the next thing we want to do is let's make the command set. So yeah, so now since we want to make multiple VLANs, we're going to define the configurations we want to make. So let's VLAN 10, yep. And let's name it IT, VLAN 20, oh, okay. Name HR department, VLAN 30, name it finance. We want to make these three VLANs across both switches, but we don't want to do that. We don't want to do it individually because that's boring, because that's trash. I don't want to SSH into each switch and then type VLAN 10, name IT department, VLAN 20, name HR department, VLAN 30, name finance department. I don't want to do that. That's just a waste of time. So that's why we're gonna define it here and we're gonna send it to both of these devices. The way we're going to send it to both of these devices, you see it in the last one, all we needed to do was connect to one of them because that's the only one here. But in this one, there's two. So how are we gonna do that? Are we gonna make two connections? No, we're not gonna make two connections actually. We're gonna make a for loop, for switch in switches. This is basic. Oh wow, it's already giving me the full thing. Whoa. So this for loop is basically saying for every switch in the switches array, do this. Now we're gonna define what we want Python to do with our switches. So the first one is net connect equals connect handler switch. Oh my gosh, why is it doing the full thing? Yeah, so the first thing we wanna do is we wanna connect to switch. So on the first iteration of this for loop, this switch is going to equal this. Oops, this. On the second iteration of the for loop, it's going to equal this, or it's going to use this. Switch is going to equal this. If there are more devices, it would keep on going until there's no more switches left. After we connect to the switch, we can just have some print statements just to make it look better. Print connected to switch, host, print, adding VLANs. It's kind of already spoiling what we're doing, but yeah, this is what we do. Net connect.send_config set config commands. So this is telling Python, or this is telling Netmiko or netconnect, send the config set config commands. So send these commands to our switch, and VLAN's adding successfully. And then we can do just a print just so that we can verify, print the output of show VLAN brief, and then we can disconnect from the switch. Oh, actually, before we do that, we should save. Net connect, yeah, configuration saved and connection closed. So realistically, there's only 4 lines of code needed. The rest of these are just print. If it's print, you can ignore it, it's optional. But the only commands needed are net connect, establish the connection, this line. The next command, the next important line is send config commands, which is this, to the switch, or run those commands on the switch. And then we're gonna write memory and then just disconnect. So save and then disconnect. That's it. And this for loop will run over both switches. So this is how we're gonna get consistent VLANs across both switches. This is how these two switches will get all three of these VLANs consistently. So let's try running this and see what happens. Clear Python 3 add underscore VLANs.py. VLANs added successfully. And this is on switch 1. This is on the first switch. And then now it's connected to the next switch. And this is the VLANs on the next switch. So as you can see on switch 1, it added these VLANs. And on switch 2, it added these VLANs. So this is actually, wow. This makes it so much easier. Imagine you have 100 switches, you can just define all 100 of them here, which is kind of also cumbersome, but you just need to do it once and then you could run it over and over again. Yeah, that's it. It's actually that simple. So let's just go back to our switches, physically console into them and verify that these changes were made. Follow switch 1, enable show VLAN brief. And we can see VLAN 10, IT department, 20 are HR, and 30 finance. So this is on switch 1. Now let's go to switch 2 and verify it as well. Okay, follow switch 2, enable show VLAN brief. And there we go. Yep, we have all three VLANs added there. Yeah, the possibilities are actually endless here. Like, this is actually crazy. For example, there's a script that I'm making right now, or there's a script that I made that asks for user input. It's like, it gives like a menu, like, oh, what would you like to do? Press 1 if you want to change the host name, press 2 if you want to change the switch, press 3 if you want to show the VLANs, add VLANs. You can do so many things with this. Python is such a powerful tool. Yeah, let me know if you guys want to see more network automation stuff. I'm actually super excited about this stuff, so I'll probably make more videos on it regardless. And yeah, if you guys want to see how to configure SSH, click the video that's on the screen right now. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, click the other video on the screen right now. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.